don't really like to admit when I'm incapable of something. I try to just be able to do it. I have an above it all attitude to things I don't have an aptitude for. Those things I naturally took to, where those things my autism resonated with. Why was I better at computers than my peers in high school? Because I learned to type before I learned to talk. Well, that's not actually true, but the spirit of it is. I spent most of my waking hours playing with DOS commands, reading the help function. Back in DOS 60, help was freaking great and even had information about how to use QBasic, which was my first programming language. I was autistic. I saw all these stuff computers let me do, without needing to actually talk to anyone, without needing to get help, without needing to admit to my inability. This was even before I really had internet access. I sneaker-netted software from the school library on floppy disks to load up at home. That's how I got my first copy of Windows 3.1. Mostly it was the games. Games were little worlds where everything was self-contained. Everything made sense, nothing was there that wasn't intended. Maybe that feeling is why when there are unintended things in games, glitches and the like, they captivated so many people, but that's not really relevant. I only gained regular internet access in high school. Before then I was going to cousins, friends, the library. Floppy disks, 5 1/4, then 3.5 zip disks, then CD. The fact that I didn't have reliable home internet made those human connections meaningful to acquire access to information that otherwise was extremely difficult to obtain. Music, games, anime, porn, books, software. Anything and everything that I could put in front of my eyes and ears. I went to LAN parties because we set up local network with file sharing, and in between matches of Age of Empires 2 shared over the LAN, of course, I'd monitor my queue of downloads from my peers. In high school I learned about modems, and for a kick my friend basically became a dial-up ISP, local call, so I didn't really care about the cost of the connection, but it did prevent any calls, so I got in trouble when mom couldn't get a hold of anyone. I think this prompted us getting DSL, which expanded my horizons. I didn't need to branch out as much, and I could spend the time from midnight to 5 a.m. trolling the net, reading about occult magic, while downloading bulm hentai, or chat on AIM and sharing music recommendations. Humans were useful because they had heard about things I hadn't, things that were interesting to them. RPG Maker 2000, Game Maker, Linkin Park, Sode, and eventually the nexus of everything as far as I'm concerned, 4chan, all were things I was told about face to face, and without those face to face connections, who knows what I would have spent my time doing. Definitely something equally useless. Perhaps if I had a Commodore 64 and never heard of anything else, I'd just have encyclopedic knowledge on every detail of that thing and be completely useless in every other regard. But I think my thirst for new information made it so I learned the minimum social skills to find an interface with those who likely wear hubs of high information potential. I hate talking in this way. I don't like interpreting my relationships in this manner, but based on my actions, that's the truth. I sought and created connections with people mostly based on their utility to provide deep understanding of diverse sets of information, mostly in the fields related to information itself. That is, after all, what computer science is. Methods of storing, accessing, and modifying information. The abstract was less interesting, because at the highest level an onion is a database, cooking it is decrypting it, and heating is processing, reading it, modifying it. Who cares about digital abstractions at the high level? The low level where humanity was caught my autistic eye, and I spent decades going deeper, but at the end of that road it's the same thing. A transistor is just a human and electricity is water. Don't like my metaphors? Well, too bad. So, or was it just SERJ himself said it, microcosm, macrocosm are the same, what a lame game, and it's true, it's fundamentally boring. What is B, what isn't she, or is obvious? There doesn't seem anything that can be done about any of this, even though my impulse on thinking in this way is fix it, I don't think. I just do things and then post hoc rationalize the actions. That's the best I can do. That's what I am. That's what I am. That's what I am. So who or what is the actor in this? Who has the will? What moves my hands to type the things I do? And I know that the doctors tell me that these thoughts are just a schizoaffective disorder, or part of a psychotic break from the bipolar shit. Whatever. Everyone who's paying any attention at all is going to look more and more schizophrenic these days, because it's humanity that's the schizo. FFS, I currently live in a country where two completely different incompatible narratives are claiming to be the leaders, and people who just agree with whatever their side says without listening at all to the other. It's impossible to validate anything at all. I can't even be sure of my own memories or the physical reality around me, and this is only becoming more apparent with every passing moment. There are times where everything feels more stable. It's periodic. Yes, it's periodic. The period is just completely within the domain of chaos theory, such that the periodicity is masked at a high level. It's periodic. The whole universe is a clockwork universe. We are all just dancing little toys on a 1-1 scale in a Keylerian universe. The fact that we can think is totally strange and seems like a problem, except that the behavior, which is all predetermined, relies on self-awareness of the predetermined nature to be a part of the dance, because that's the game, that's the role. Waking up, how the fuck do you wake up a clockwork universe? This is the environment I grew up in. This is the culture I lived in. This culture is inherently parasitic, but how can I be blamed for that? Did I choose and create my role? Does that statement even have any logical meaning? There are even in my mind no less than two competing theories of self, the standard narrative, the one that is memetically encoded, the one that is physically stored and fed in a bone case that encases this self, this has physical evidence for it. There are objects that match with this self's understanding of reality. But that doesn't mean anything. And when the other theory of self starts to win out, the physicality of reality doesn't matter at all, everything becomes abstract. The stairwell becomes a bottomless pit, and dangling one foot off represents half of the realities where myself fell and perished, and the other foot on solid ground had to work to keep them, because I need my shadow. I am my shadow. I'm not just the light but the shadows. It's the contrast, it's the gradient, and under different external conditions I become just a human, or a pig for the slaughter, or a computer, or a video or a game, or just words that you hear in the back of your mind when you don't want to hear anything. And the spirit that I hear is at once a living thing, and also an atom, and it's an MP3 file on a disk. This is the reality of my existence. And I don't think this feeling is special. I feel like it has to be something most people feel at one time or another, or maybe all the time. But I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. Like, isn't something like this supposed to matter? Isn't it supposed to be for something? I know that life isn't a movie, but isn't it? Isn't my life just a movie with laugh track and jump scares, or some smarmy commentary between wacky characters nitpicking everything that doesn't quite make sense? For the me narrative of this plot, I'm going to give this scene, I was going to give 50 sins, but I'll let some other writer finish that, make it higher or lower, I don't care, because that's not my context, right? My context is here and now, in the box, in the band, neither in both. Here and now. Watching, reading, and hearing, but not saying. Not right now. Because it's not finished, because this voice produced by this meat is unappealing to itself, because the nasal tones and tenor bass undulation is anathema. She identifies as Yukawa because that's what she perceives as likable, not seeing that she is nothing likable. She is miserable, abusive, and mean. But at least he finds her attractive, right? Ugh, fucking gross. He doesn't like that he's a man, you know. He has this deep-seated distaste for masculinity which has been fostered by festering wounds inflicted by white cishet male patriarchy with aspirations of godhood and the power to delude the masses to the point of facsimile to the same. That male-dominated world has lifted up the submissive Kukaway as land for the slaughter of the herbivore males who are willing to run for carrot on stick of virtually pussy and cloud-chasing bullshit. It's disgusting. It's masculinity, the gear treadmill and the cute image of fox femininity. There isn't a real concept of what it is to be a man, there isn't a real concept of what it is to be woman. Neither have any real meaning, only the cultural context provides working definitions, and they are all apparent. Ugh, this doesn't help, right? Like, I can sit here and write all this stuff, but no one is ever going to read it. Even I don't typically go back and reread, reword, rework what I write to make something palatable to the tastes of the Western world. And what other world is there? Who is my fucking audience? How will these echoes reach any place where they will have any significance? Hash JLC 2024 is a joke, but it's a joke I want to sincerely tell in action to make people understand the far right. But that joke was already told in effect by Trump, but in a way that people just sorta took it seriously. Because it like caters to their worldview. Because we have a nation of actual clowns, so when a clown is like rights for clowns and only clowns, a huge number of people are like, yeah, clowns have been constantly oppressed, and it's like, wait, when? And why are you